Sunshine, stability, and yes, even 60s are on the way for Central Oregon. Hey everyone, good evening. I'm Darrell Winninger, meteorologist at Central Oregon Daily News. And across the high desert, we've only had some light cloud cover outside of some patchy AM fog that lifted up and quickly dissipated. So under this broad ridge of high pressure that's bringing us all this sunshine, our warming trend continues, yet it is not quite over just yet. And when we look across the high desert, we also see a couple of other things. A few light clouds, and there is a little bit of haze from a couple of pile burns and prescribed burns. Now, altogether, some air stagnation is going to be possible, so periods of reduced air quality aren't out of the question, but I do want you to look at this. This graphic just helps paint a picture of what's happening. Blocking high pressure ridge is set up over the Pacific Northwest, and it is a broad ridge of high pressure that's very strong, and it's blocking all of this activity way out over the Pacific Ocean from coming into the Pacific Northwest. So this is the reason we are very dry. This high pressure that's bringing us stability and keeping those systems from rolling in. Now with that, unseasonably warm conditions are expected because, like we had a couple of weeks ago, but to a greater degree, every system that rolls in is just being ripped apart. At least the cold fronts are, but the warm fronts, or the tail end of each warm front, is still rolling through the high desert. So this steady, this gradual warming trend, that's going to continue. And temperatures are going to be running between 10 to 15 degrees above average, and by tomorrow and Wednesday, some locations getting up to 20 degrees above average for this time of the year. On top of that, there is just no precipitation in sight until we get later into the week. So let's look at a couple more cameras across the high desert, just knowing what our weather pattern is. When we look at some of the road cameras, there's just dry roads and some shadows on the ground, even at elevation. Through the passes, we've been getting more melting than we have had a chance of snow at all. So the couple of roads are damp, but that's mostly because of melting. So even just to hit that a little bit further home for you, when it comes to our snow report, these are numbers as of 2 p.m. Yeah, it's a couple hours ago, but they haven't really changed. We've lost an inch at Hoodoo. Outside of that, pretty much where it was on Friday. I think between today and Friday, we lost an inch at Bachelor too, but that wasn't in the last 24 hours. And looking forward, your powder prognosis shows no new snow. Now, there will be some in and out clouds through the day tomorrow, but look at those temperatures. Look at Hoodoo and Santiam Pass. Temperatures getting into the lower 50s. At Bachelor, temperatures getting into the mid to upper 40s, maybe up to the low 50s at times. Just not as long of an 50s event as what we're seeing in some of the lower elevations, like getting up to Hoodoo and Santiam Pass. And when it comes to air quality, not too bad. We saw that haze in several of those cameras when we were looking at the graphic that had all 6 cameras on there, but we don't see any reduced air quality either from the DEQ hourly average, it's courtesy of airnow.gov, or the eSpace air quality monitoring network that has just sensors all over Central Oregon and really the state. And eSpace is a local lab right here in Bend. But we have one more, a third network that we can check out, and it's Purple Air. Many of you have these sensors in and around your properties, and with the Purple Air, we mostly see green. There are a couple yellows, moderate air quality. There are, I think there's 3 different spots where it's down to unhealthy for sensitive groups, but overall, that's actually really good when it comes to air quality under a ridge of high pressure this time of the year. With satellite and radar, we're looking at a blend of visible and infrared satellite imagery. Visible is what we see during the day, but as the sun sets, we can't really see. You can actually see the right side of the screen getting darker. That's because the sun set and we're not getting the visible anymore. And where we have the infrared imagery, that is taking imagery of the temperature of the top of the clouds, so we can see just how tall those clouds are. And over Central Oregon, we have clouds are few and far between. When we look at the bigger picture, there is a system that's way out over the Pacific Ocean, and that warm front is now crossing through Washington, and it's already moved through Central Oregon. Here's a better view of it. You can actually see kind of where that warm front is stretched through Washington, Idaho, and getting through the Rockies. Now, we're sitting in the warm sector of that system under a ridge of high pressure, and that's why temperatures today warmed up a little bit more. For many of us, we got to 8, some locations 10 degrees warmer. Now, when it comes to water vapor imagery, we're going to talk about two things here. Water vapor imagery and pressure. We had pressure on the last one. Those isobars are really loose over Central Oregon. There are very few of them over the Pacific Northwest. Look out over the Pacific Ocean where this system is. They're tightly stacked together because we're going from high pressure to low pressure. That's where it's windy. For us, over Central Oregon, since we do not have a steep gradient when it comes to surface pressure, we do not have much in the way of winds. We just have these clouds, and where you're seeing the dark blue and the yellow, that's where we have very dry air mass over Central Oregon. And then going forward, our forecast model shows that we don't see that change too much. Through tonight, few pockets of fog, most of it over in the valley, not really here in Central Oregon. Through Tuesday, some PM clouds, but still no rain in sight. Then those clouds thin out. After Wednesday morning, we're back to sunshine. So notice each night carries with it the potential for a few pockets of fog, but that's about it. And in and out clouds. Now, when it comes to relative humidity, we are very dry. So that's why even though there is a chance for fog, it's not one of the main headlines that I'm talking about because we're already so dry. We're going to have a lot of work to do to get to full saturation in a cloud pretty much sitting on the ground by the time we wake up. Now, temperatures in the last 24 hours, look at this, topped out in the mid to upper 50s with 61 degrees in Warm Springs. The forecast high for today was a few degrees below that, and that was from Friday, so that was from several days ago. But even right now, we're still way above average for this time of the year. Now, temperatures are running between 1 and 9 degrees warmer than it was just 24 hours ago. This kind of warming trend is going to slow down, but it's going to continue. So tonight we fall back to near and below freezing. A few spots on the high desert won't get below freezing, but most of us will. By tomorrow, through the 50s and reaching into the 60s for peak temperatures, just because temperatures go up and then they come down right at the top, right at the apex. That's where the high, some 60s are going to be possible. We won't be spending too much time in the 60s. But for tomorrow, that chilly start is expected, and under this broad ridge of high pressure with tons of sunshine and only some clouds, we're talking 50s and some 60s possible. By Wednesday, it warms up a little bit more, 60s and 50s. So that means lower 60s, some upper 50s left out. They're just above normal and sunshine. A few clouds start to roll in late on Thursday, and that's about it. And that cloud cover stayed over the valley through the week just because of the fog that we're expecting in the valley. So we have temperatures continuing to warm up. We get a dip in temperatures Thursday, bounce back a little bit Friday, then it gets cooler Saturday. What's changing? Well, between Wednesday and Thursday, our ridge of high pressure starts to flatten. It starts to weaken. That's going to allow more clouds into the high desert, but we're still staying dry that entire time. So between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., there's no precipitation in sight for Central Oregon and very little for the entire state. There's only a few spots that could get a couple sprinkles. Most of that precipitation is going to our north, west of the Cascades of Washington and into BC. Just staying pretty far out of Central Oregon. And so when we go ahead and look at our forecast model, here's what we're looking at. There's our high pressure, very broad ridge of high pressure, almost an omega high, but not quite there. It's still a blocking ridge. And so it's not going to let any of that system that's out over the Pacific Ocean come our way. And we do have some clouds Tuesday afternoon and evening, but they're light, thin, wispy clouds, some pockets of fog to start the day tomorrow. Now, by Wednesday, some of that fog could be dipping into Jefferson County, but not much of it. And we just stay under this high pressure. Tons of sunshine through Thursday. Then by Friday, that high pressure starts to flatten. We catch more cloud cover, but it's still dry. And it's not until we get to this weekend that we're even expecting the hint of a chance of some showers. And so, actually, let's go ahead and look at that. I'll pull up the GFS. This is a long-range forecast model. Not nearly as good when it comes to exactly where things are going to fall, but it still helps paint a picture of what's going to happen. So the freeze frame is at 4 p.m. on Friday. As we fast forward, by Saturday, we catch more in and out clouds and notice some showers west of the Cascades. By Saturday night going into Sunday, that starts to move into the high desert and even a chance of rain becoming snow showers through Central Oregon. We're just not looking much in the way of totals. So let's look at some of those totals. Here's just one forecast model. It shows that between now and Monday at 10 a.m., we're looking at a trace of snow to maybe 2 inches in the highest elevation. So it's not a lot that's really expected. Meanwhile, when it comes to wind gusts right now, it's not gusty. We have a light breeze across the high desert, even a gentle breeze for parts of Central Oregon. Then going forward, look at this. It stays a gentle light breeze overnight. By the AM hours, it could start to pick up. That's when a weak system is fizzling out over the region. But overall, we stay at a light breeze. through the next several days, even on Wednesday, mostly a light breeze. Now, by Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, it could become breezy at times, but it's really not going to impact us that much. So we have no chance of rain until we get into the overnight hours, Saturday night going into Sunday. Now, for tonight, we're falling back into the 30s with a few 20s on the map. Most of us bottom out below freezing or near freezing. Madras and Bend, lows will be at 33. We'll call that near freezing. Warm Springs, 34 degrees. And then looking forward through the day tomorrow, we're topping out in the 50s and 60s across the high desert. The average high temperature for Tuesday is going to be 60 degrees. We warm up a little bit more on Wednesday. Then by Thursday, that ridge of high pressure starts to flatten. We catch more clouds by the afternoon. Temperatures don't get as pleasant, and that's going to be on the backside of a very weak system that barely brings much in the way of clouds, and we continue to see a little bit more cloud cover Friday and Saturday. It's really not until Sunday that we get a chance for rain. Sunday night going into Monday, some of that'll be snow showers, and winds are going to be gusty during this time. So a quick recap for you, your weather headlines for Monday, February the 2nd, a mild start for the month. Yeah, we are way above average for this time of the year. The average high is 44 degrees for Bend, 46 for Redmond, and by the time we get to Wednesday, we could be flirting with record high temperatures. Today alone, the record highs are both at 65 for Bend and Redmond and a few other locations. So we'll be flirting with it, but I don't think we're going to break too many records by Wednesday, but there's a chance that some records could at least be tied, maybe even fall. But when it comes to anything right now, we have no precipitation in sight, a few light clouds across the high desert, and that is about it. Closest showers are between Pendleton and Baker City, and a little bit to the north of Portland going up through the Olympic Peninsula. So not much happening. Enjoy this sunshine because that shift in the weather pattern starts up this weekend. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. That'll be at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock on ABC and CBS, and then 7 o'clock on CBS, and then on both of them at 11 o'clock. See you then.